Whether you're a first-time mom or a mom of many, there's always something new to learn. The how, when, and why of every new stage can be so overwhelming. So I'm here to share everything I'm learning along the way in my journey of parenthood. I don't have all the answers, and I probably never will. I'm just a mom, probably much like you, who simply wants to do the best I can to raise good, tiny humans. I believe there's joy to be found in every season of motherhood, and the more we know, the better we can help them grow. This is the Learning as They Grow podcast.
Welcome back to this episode of Learning as They Grow. This is part 2 of night weaning. So if you are interested in what night weaning is, why somebody would be needing to night wean or interested in night weaning, go check out part 1 of night weaning. This part 2, we're going to dive into how I successfully night weaned my daughter. And this is actually going to be a step-by-step with what to do weeks prior, what to do days prior, what to do the night of, what to do moving forward, stuff like that. If you are just listening right now, that's great. Check it out. But if you kind of need stuff written out, you're more of a visual person like I am, go check out the blog with the how-to. It's going to be in the show notes below. All right. So like I said, last episode, I talked about what night weaning is. Simply put, night weaning is removing nursing or bottle feeding in the middle of the night. So no longer having night wakings, hopefully. I also think it's important to note once more in this episode that I personally do not find it appropriate developmentally for children younger than 9 months to be night weaned. This is just based on everything that I've learned regarding how often babies need to eat at 4 to 6 months is still between 4 to 6 hours. Therefore, expecting them to sleep through the night at a 6 to 8 hour stretch is just not really plausible. Maybe whenever they get closer to that 6 months and between 6 to 9 months, you might be able to start dabbling with it and seeing how they really sleep without, receiving that milk. But for us, it just is not something that we even attempted to try until well after her age was appropriate to not eat in the middle of the night. And after she had been introduced to solids during the daytime, which ensured that my daughter would be nice and full, receiving all the nutrients and the calories that she needed. And I was positive that she was no longer waking for hunger, for a physical need, but she is actually waking for comfort, for an emotional need. So that right there is just really big for me. Again, look into it, decide what you feel is appropriate for you. As I talked about in the last episode, talk to a trusted pediatrician, make sure that they're not pushing anything on you that you don't feel is appropriate for your family, and seek advice from people that, are like-minded in certain things and you trust their parenting styles. So with that being said, I want to dive into how we successfully night weaned my daughter at 17 months. So a couple things to point out with that. One, I again went into a full, detailed experience about how we got to 17 months of nursing. That was not my intention to begin with. I was never somebody that intended to nurse well into toddlerhood or childhood, but 17 months just felt like it was actually working for us. I struggled in the beginning of nursing and did not think I would make it past 6 months. And then suddenly we were there and it was working for us. It is something that I also did not want to have to initiate myself with the night weaning. I was hoping that she would just naturally wean, and all the signs pointed to her really not needing it anymore, but she became very comforted by it and it became a habit for her. And so with all that being said, I felt it was time that I needed to begin doing something for my peace of mind. I began having nursing aversions where I was really just annoyed and frustrated and turned off by the fact that she was wanting to nurse, which made me feel very guilty, and mom guilt is just horrible. So I, started looking into things, but also at that time she was not getting her best sleep because she was waking way more frequently than developmentally appropriate. And her little brain is just growing so much at this age. So I was like, I need to get her some sleep. I need to make sure that this is benefiting both of us in the best way. Therefore, we chose to night wean. So let's go into how we successfully night weaned. Now, I will note that this was not my own approach that I just came up with. However, I cannot for the life of me remember where I got this approach, because I was doing so much research, reaching out to so many people, looking into so many blogs, podcasts, other mothers sharing their stories, and just trying to figure out what would be the best way for us, that somewhere along the way, I stumbled upon this approach. To be honest, whenever I first heard it, I was like, what? No, that's silly. That's not going to work. But guys, it worked. So hear me out. Here's what we did. Okay. This is a step-by-step. So weeks prior to the night weaning, I started talking to my daughter, and I followed this approach from kind of pretty much to a T from what they had mentioned. And again, I don't know the name of the approach or who it was, but I'll just call this the gentle approach to night weaning, because that's what it was. So weeks prior to night weaning, I talked to my daughter about the difference between daytime and nighttime. We went to the library, we got books, we talked about the sun, we talked about the moon, and really just understood that at nighttime, darkness, we need to be sleeping time. Daytime, sun, bright, fun, up, play, nursing, whatever it may be. But I really just started to explain the difference. We started talking about it, we started learning about it. Now, I want to point out that receptive language actually starts at birth. So just because your child is not expressing themselves with language yet does not mean they're not understanding you. So a lot of times people think, oh, I'm not going to talk to my kid about that. They're not understanding me. That sounds so silly, but they really are learning and understanding. Like I said, my daughter was not fully night weaned until 17 months. We started these conversations at 15 months, but I can honestly say that if I was to try sooner, I do think that she would have made those connections too, and it still would have been successful. So no matter what boat you're in, if your child is a toddler or your child is still in the baby stage, 9 to 12 months, I'll say, because like I said, I personally don't feel it appropriate to start sooner. If you're in that stage, they're still understanding. Just talk with them. It's important to narrate things throughout your day with your child and just really talk openly with them. So try that out. Anyway, so I told her specifically weeks prior, just like us, once she learned about nighttime and sleeping and stuff, I said, just like us, nursing needs to sleep at night too. So soon we're going to begin not nursing when the sun goes down. You can nurse when the sun is up, but we're not going to nurse when the sun goes down. Now, I just said nursing. People can call it boobies or nanas or milkies or whatever you choose to call it. I'm just going to call it nursing. So I started talking to her about that. And I think that this was very beneficial. But in addition to the talk, I also found it really important to start establishing and overlapping an alternative comfort action or object. So for us, I tried the objects. I tried a little lovey, like a little stuffed animal, a little blanket. I tried like, this is your space and this is, all that stuff. And she was just like, nope, I just want to rock and I want to be snuggled. And so that was our comfort action. So I made sure to do that action, or if you're using an object, use that object while nursing at nighttime. Make sure that those two are overlapping. They're starting to connect that, oh, when mom pats my back or when she rocks, that is also comforting, just like nursing is. And as we get into the weaning, you're going to obviously start removing the nursing, but you're going to keep that alternative comfort action or object present. So that's going to be a big piece of it too. You can't just remove something that comforted them and expect to just lay them back down and say good night and then be fine. You have to still find a comfort for them. And just like everything, I think it's important to know that there is a time for everything in stages of your child's life. So I think a lot of times we stress so much about, oh my gosh, they're going to be so into this when they're 5 years old. How do I break this habit? Or they're going to be obsessed with this still at this age. And it's like, let's just say, this thing is being used for this stage, and we will cross that bridge when we get there. So just like nursing, if it is serving a great purpose in the beginning, allow that to happen for that stage, and understand when the time comes, you can wean it. Pacifier, same thing. Or they have their blankie. Oh, I don't want them taking their blankie to kindergarten. Well, they're a baby or they're a toddler. Let them have that blankie for now. Let them have that thing. This is serving them for this stage in their life. So it is okay if you're using those things for now. Same with rocking or patting. Oh, I don't want to rock them to sleep every night. Let it be a crutch for right now, and we'll cross the bridge of how to wean from those things. Or your child might just naturally wean for it. That's kind of the hope, that they really do get to a stage where they're like, I'm not just really not into that anymore, mom. I'm going to lay down. Thank you. Good night. So yeah, that's my whole little rundown on that. In addition to getting your comfort object or action and talking to your child about it weeks prior to night weaning, start talking to somebody else in the house about you might needing some reinforcements on those nights, whether that's a spouse, significant other, a parent, if you have somebody. I have my husband, however, he is not really able to assist in the middle of the night due to work, and it just did not work well for our family. So that was something that I talked to him about. But like maybe a single parent in that situation, you can't really rely on that being your reinforcement. So it depends family to family what works for you, but it's definitely recommended, if it could work out for your family, having another person to help step in and assist during that time can be really helpful. So regardless, whoever else is in your house during that time, just talk with them and make them aware of what's going to be coming up and how night times might be a little challenging. You might need a little more breaks during the day or during the nighttime, however it works for your family. Okay, so that was a week or weeks leading up to when you want a nighttime wean. Days leading up to, so the week of your nighttime weaning or the weekend before, or whatever it may be, like I stated before, make sure that your little one has been eating enough calories and nutrients throughout the day. This comes from healthy fats, good carbs, not just snacks, and like carbs and sugary snacks. Those aren't going to help keep them full in the middle of the night. In addition to that, if your child is 12 months or older and you're comfortable with it, you can introduce cow's milk or goat's milk. This, for us, we choose to get raw cow's milk, and this is full of nutrients and vitamins, and it helps keep her full in a beneficial way. You also can be doing water at that time if that's just something helpful that can give them, their thirst needs being met, because those, whether it's a milk or a water, is going to be being used throughout the weaning time as well. So make sure that those things are well established. Make sure that they're getting full at dinner time, that they have a good, healthy, filling dinner, a good, healthy pasta, or a good protein is definitely needed. So make sure that those things are in place the days leading up to the weaning, and then continue to talk to your baby or your toddler about the upcoming events, reminding them. Again, I know I sound silly, but it works really great for a little one. Just telling them, we're going to continue enjoying nursing a little bit more tonight, but soon nursing is only going to happen during the day. Remember, when the sun is up, we can nurse and we can play and we can be awake. But when the sun goes down, it's time to sleep, and nursing has to go to sleep. You have to go to sleep. Mama has to go to sleep. Everybody, list everybody in the house. Make it very clear. It is sleeping time. All right. And then continue to provide the nursing or whatever it may be, bottle feeding or nursing, with that comfort action or object at the time. So putting those two things still overlapping in place, making sure that that is a solid comfort action or object for your child. Not that it sometimes works, but sometimes doesn't. Make sure you have a good replacement comfort. So in addition to that, here's where you add something new. So days prior to the night weaning, you're going to want to make sure that you have a cup or a bottle. My daughter at this time was drinking a cup with a straw, and this was just what she would drink water or milk out of throughout the day. And so I made sure that I had that prepared with milk. Like I said, worked for us. But then we also would swap out and do water on occasion, just because I was like not wanting her just to drink milk like all through the night. And so I would replace it with water on occasion too. So whatever works for you. I know a friend who just used a water bottle and that worked great for them. But also here's the other thing you're going to need to prepare. And like, I'm going to always look back at this piece of night weaning and kind of just laugh at myself and be like, oh my goodness, the things we did to try to make this happen. So you're going to need a good jacket, sweater, or shirt that completely covers your breasts, makes it to where they can't really get in on the side of your shirt. They can't get in by pulling down on the front of it. It's just not, your breasts are just not like right there for them to be able to feel if they're leaning up on you with their face. They're not really, I guess, tempted by it. And so it's very covered. Like this is a restricted area. The reason I say I'm going to look back and laugh is the second night of night weaning, our AC went out, and we live in Texas, guys. So it was so hot, but I put on my husband's big jacket that I chose to use. I zipped it up and I just went in there and just held her and rocked. And it was just like, what is happening? Like we had a good fan in her room, so she was cool, but I was just, it was hot. Okay. But it was important. It was a part that needed to happen because when I had tried prior to telling her no, she was pulling at my shirt, things were coming out. It was just not working. So yeah, making sure that you have all of that prepared. And if you, whatever you may use, whether it's a burp cloth or a haka or whatever those things are called that you can stick inside of your shirt to catch any milk from a letdown, you might want to have that available too, because while your child might be trying to get at the breast, you naturally feed at that time, you might have a letdown that just happens. So you're going to want to have all that covered up and just be able to be really prepared. So that was days leading up to it. Now, the first night, let's talk about the first night of night weaning. Okay. I want to make this point very clear and important. I definitely think that you need to make sure it is a good night to start for your whole household. If your child is teething, they're in a bad leap where you're like, woo, you got some stuff going on and you are growing and learning, but you are being a bit different right now, then those things are not going to be a good time for starting night weaning. If you're traveling or if you have a trip coming up that weekend, I'd hold off. Any changes in routine that might happen, or if they're sick, whatever it may be, those kind of things are going to make night weaning very difficult. It's going to last a lot longer than you need it to, and it's going to be just really hard. It's not going to be the best time. So I don't recommend starting at those times. Trust me, I was to the point at 15 months where I was like, I'm done nursing. I don't want to nurse anymore. But we hit a leap and she had teeth coming in at the same time. And it was just not the right time. Like I tried and it was just horrible. So we said, okay, this is not the case. This is not the time to start. We need to shift or pivot and be aware that it's going to have to just happen another time. And I just dealt with it. And then 2 months later, I was like, 2 months was really not a long time to wait. It was actually a month later, and then it took a couple of weeks to get her night weaned. So 17 months successfully night weaned. All right. So making sure that that time is the right time to start. Okay. With that being said, now I will start with what you do on night 1 of night weaning. All right. So it's important to stick with your regular routine. So if nighttime nursing is what you do, like right after you do the bath and the pajamas and the book and whatever, if you nurse at that time regularly, continue to do that and talk to them during that time and telling them that that's going to be the last time they're nursing for the day. If you regularly don't do that and you nurse at another point in the day, then you're going to talk to them at that time. Either way, whenever you do your last nursing session for the day, tell them that this is going to be the last one. Remind them that, daytime and nighttime, and then tell them when you wake up, I'm going to be right here for you. And we can, whatever your comfort thing is, we can rock, we can snuggle, whatever it may be, but we're not going to nurse again until the morning time. When the sun comes up, you can nurse again. Okay. So just understanding that they are being made aware and talking to them about it. So when your child does wake up, you're going to get your stuff prepared. You're going to get your battle jacket on and get your cup or your bottle, whatever it may be, with your water or your milk. And most importantly, you are going to have a calm presence and be prepared with patience, understanding you're going to need to be the calm in this storm that might happen. From my experience, it was a rough time telling my little one, and it was very hard for her to accept it. And she is just a very determined little thing. She was not really taking no for an answer. And I really had to be the sound and calm. And if she was hitting or pushing off of me or being mad at me, I had to just continue to be calm in that. So really making sure that you're in the right mindset for that time. That may not be the case with your child. Every child's different. Some take, rules differently and are able to really just accept things and move forward. My child is not. So if your kid's anything like mine, you're going to need to be the calm one. But yeah, so when she woke up, I got everything prepared. I went in and I reminded her, as I just sat down and I started rocking her. And when she tried to nurse, as she regularly would at that time in the middle of the night, I reminded her, no, baby, remember, we're not nursing. It's sleeping right now. It's dark. And so at that time I said, do you want some water or do you want some milk? And this was just to make sure if she was thirsty, I was satisfying that need. I knew she wasn't hungry because it was only 3 hours prior or 4 hours prior that she had dinner, and she had a good dinner. So I knew that she wasn't hungry. I just wanted to check if she was thirsty, but ultimately she was just wanting this for her habit and for her emotional needs. So I met those in other ways. Now, I will tell you from my personal experience, I did everything I could in that first night to comfort her that first time around her waking up. And I noticed that it was really disrupting her sleep to a point where she was overly upset. There was no way that she was going to accept no for an answer. So at that time we said, okay, I'm going to do what feels right for my family. And I chose to nurse her. I tried again at the next nursing session though. So if you're in that boat, it's okay again to pivot and to say, okay, this isn't the right time. We're going to try again later and just help get your baby back to sleep. For us, it was after probably an hour of me talking to her, trying to comfort her, offering things, laying down with her. My husband came in, he tried comforting her, took her outside because that's where she's most calm. She would calm down, but then as soon as she got back in her room, she was wanting to nurse again. So we just went ahead and said, we tried everything we could at that time. It didn't work. So we went ahead and tried again at the next nursing session. And by that point, it was like 4 a.m. when she woke up again, wanting to nurse. And so for me, I decided that I would go ahead and nurse at that time. And I went ahead and tried for the second day. So figure out what works for you. You might have to be flexible. Things might have to shift a little. It is important. This is like, I feel the number one struggle in parenting is people always say consistency. Like, yes, consistency is key, but you also have to be flexible. So it's like, how do you find that balance of being consistent, but being flexible? You have to go with your gut and what feels right for your family. Sometimes you have to be pushed a little bit more out of your comfort zone than usual to try to be consistent. But then if it hits a point where you're like, this is no longer acceptable for us, then you have to be flexible and you have to shift and you have to say, okay, we're going to try again tomorrow. So that's what happened for us. Now, night 2 for us, which would technically be our night 1 of actually weaning, we did the same thing. I went in, I zipped up my jacket. I had a bottle or a cup of water or milk ready for her. And I talked to her and I told her, remember, we're not doing this. We're going to nurse in the morning. Remember, we don't need nursing. And I rocked her and I rocked her and I rocked her, and it worked. And so at that time, I was able to remove 1 night nursing session. So it was that first one, and I went ahead and nursed for the other nursing session that she woke up for. So that's going to be where you're going to need to figure out from the start, how many times am I nursing through the night? Look at it, maybe write it down and decide that you're going to eliminate the first one. So it is a gradual approach. So understanding that the first night, you may only be able to remove one nursing session. Try it again for the second or third or however many nursing sessions you have throughout the night. Try to go through all those steps. But if it's absolutely not happening, be proud of that first one that you were able to remove and be consistent with that. Now, when you come up to the next night, night 2 or night 3, wherever you're at, you are going to then try to remove another nursing session, continuously talking to them, reminding them, offering that comfort alternative, offering them that milk or water. A lot of times my daughter really was not interested in the milk or water, so I had it there, but it wasn't that she was thirsty, which is what I was able to see. Okay, she really is using this for an emotional need and a comfort. So just continuously doing those things. So starting gradually, removing one nursing session at a time, the next day removing 2 nursing sessions, next day maybe 3. And again, being flexible, but trying to be consistent is going to be key. So keep this up for however long it's going to take. For us, by the end of, I'd say 4 or 5 days, she was no longer nursing through the night. I was able to just go in, rock her. I began just laying with her in her bed until she fell asleep. And then I'd go into the other room when she'd wake again. She no longer asked for nursing. It was amazing to me to see that she went from this boob-crazed baby, just constantly asking for nursing, not being able to really be around me at nighttime without expecting to nurse, to where she no longer was even asking for it. So that only took 4 to 5 days for us. And now we are at 17 months, like I stated, and she does not nurse through the night. There has been a moment when she was sick and did not feel well and was just really trying to get it. And so for me, I just said, okay, this is something that I'm still doing during the day. So I'm going to be okay giving it to her right now. That worked for us. It didn't mess up our routine or anything. She still understands that she mostly does not nurse during the night. So yeah, that's kind of how we made it work. And we are now fully night weaned. Everything is going good. So I really encourage you to try this route. If you are in the same stage that we were in, you're feeling like your baby is able to have their hunger needs met during the day, they're old enough to where it's appropriate to sleep throughout the night, and they're starting to just lean on nursing for a habit and for a comfort, but you're to the point where you're not interested in doing it anymore, or it doesn't serve your family well anymore, then this is a great approach for night weaning. It's a gentle approach, talking with your little one and gradually removing the nursing sessions. All right, I hope that helps. Like I said, all of this kind of rundown will be in the show notes below. I do not at all claim to be an expert in anything, or being able to trump some people who have medical experience and knowing what's right and what's wrong. I just do the research. I look into everything that works for my family. I go with my gut instinct, and then I am here to share it with you in hopes that it can help you and encourage you if you are in the same boat or struggling with some of the same things. So I hope that it does help out. If there are any comments, questions, concerns with anything that I said, feel free to reach out to me. You can follow me at any of the things below here, any of my social media pages, or any of the podcast platforms, or YouTube. Don't be a jerk and just comment something rude. If you disagree with me, reach out to me, talk with me. I'm always down for discourse, and understanding what might work for my family may not work for your family. But I think it's important to share what does work for somebody's family with others, because you never know until you try it, and you never know until you hear about it. And then you go, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known about this so much sooner. So let me know what you think. If you are a fan of this approach and it worked for you, or if you know somebody that this could work for, please share it with them. And make sure to subscribe to any of the below links or podcast platforms so that you can stay up to date on all things learning as they grow. I will continue to share anything I learned along the way, and I hope that it helps and serves you well. All right, have a blessed weekend. Bye.